Destiny 2 is focused around three things: looting, shooting, and build crafting. Last video we discussed looting and how the game's loot systems directly impact progression and player investment in the game. This time we're talking about the next big topic: build crafting. Whether you are picking out a new subclass, playstyle, armor, or weapons, build crafting is an integral part of the Destiny experience. It's so big, in fact, I want to split this topic up a bit more. In the last channel poll, you all voted for me to talk about armor mods, subclass options, and build crafting. Each topic is big enough for its own video, so today we're going to be focusing on the current armor mod system in Destiny. The armor mod system has seen many changes over the years, with the biggest change being brought to us with the Lightfall expansion back in 2023. This new armor mod system promised to simplify the build crafting process for inexperienced players, while at the same time providing enough depth for veteran players to really sink their teeth into. Now that the system has had 2 years to simmer, it's time to take a look and see if it achieved its goals, or if there are still areas in need of improvement. Hey everyone, I'm Rizeki, and welcome to my analysis of the armor mod system in Destiny 2. As always, thanks for checking out the video. Did you know that only about 10% of my viewers are actually subscribed? Pretty crazy, right? So make sure you're actually subscribed by clicking the little button below the video. I promise you'll want to catch my future videos about build crafting and Destiny as a whole. But let's get to the video. Where subclass aspects, fragments, and abilities are the core part of every build, the various options you have for armor mods are the way to fine-tune your build to fit your playstyle. Armor mods are subclass agnostic and have options for a large variety of situations. For example, if you're building into grenade abilities, you could have armor mods that directly benefit your grenade ability regen. Do you need more boss damage? Spec into a couple weapon surge mods matching your DPS weapon's damage type. Even with a certain subclass build setup, you could have two completely different sets of armor mods to drastically change the goal of the build. Just take a look at the two builds on screen now. Both are Arc Hunters, both have the same fragments and aspects, but the left build is focused on ad clear and survivability, while the right build is focused on damage. The only real difference being the armor mods. The same can be said about PvP builds versus PvE. The armor mod system has mods that are best suited for a PvP environment, which are not as good in PvE, and vice versa. Let's talk a bit about the central design of the armor mod system, as this will give us a better picture of what makes the current system what it is. The current system is structured mostly around orbs of power, a collectible that spawns when you meet certain gameplay criteria. Collecting an orb of power has a couple different effects depending on the armor mods you have equipped. Some mods, such as Recuperation or Invigoration, will grant you some immediate effect upon collecting an orb. Recuperation will restore health, and Invigoration will refund some melee ability energy. Other mods, such as the aforementioned Surge mods, will have a passive effect after collecting an orb for a short time. These mods rely on the armor charge mechanic. Basically, collecting an orb grants a stack of armor charge that decays over time. While you have a stack of armor charge, these passive mods will grant some sort of benefit to you. In the case of Surge mods, you will gain a damage bonus to weapons matching the elemental type of the mod. Other similar mods include the font mods, which will passively grant you increased stats while you have armor charge. The final orb related mods are the kickstart mods, which will consume a certain number of armor charge stacks to greatly refund ability energy after using the matching ability. So grenade kickstarts will refund grenade abilities, for example. There are some other mods related to orbs that help you generate more or provide some other auxiliary benefit, but that's the system in a nutshell. The other half of the mod system is all the mods that do not have an effect related to orbs of power. These mods include things such as resistance mods, targeting mods, etc. These mods provide passive effects that just exist without any conditional requirements. Resistance mods provide defense towards matching damage types, and targeting mods benefit the accuracy of matching weapon types. There are of course the stat mods as well, which provide bonus stat points for your character outside of the preset stats on your armor. The biggest benefit of this armor mod system is its simplicity. Previously, the armor mod system was much more in-depth. At the top, armor itself had an energy type. This meant that certain armor mods could only be equipped to armor with a matching energy. So a mod such as Elemental Shards could only be equipped to a stasis-attuned armor piece. This placed a heavy burden on build crafting, since there were a lot more restrictions on what mods you could run based on what other mods you already had on your build. Plus, changing an armor piece to have a different element would cost materials, and would mean that you couldn't use the same armor between builds if they had different elemental requirements. This further made things difficult since players would need to have high statted armor in each element in order to have good enough armor for various different builds. And all that armor needed to be masterworked. And on top of that again, Artifice armor was almost required due to it having an additional mod slot for seasonal armor mods. So not only was this system more difficult to navigate for an average player, but it also required a lot more effort to grind out armor to use within the system. And finally, armor mods were not just unlocked by reaching certain Guardian ranks. We didn't have Guardian ranks. Old armor mods could only be unlocked by playing during specific seasons, or by purchasing them at 801, assuming she was randomly selling the exact mod that you were missing. In comparison, the current mod system is very easy to approach. Instead of having a bunch of different types of elemental well pickups that all interact differently with different mods, the current system only has a single pickup, Orbs of Power. Gone are the days of elemental armor, meaning any mod could be placed on any armor piece. This greatly simplifies not only the choice of armor, but also the total amount of armor required to have a well-rounded vault. I mean, look at it this way. You no longer need 4 different masterworked class items. You only need 1. It also makes swapping mods mid-activity much easier, which helps for switching from ad clear to boss damage, for example. The current system streamlined the whole way we did armor mods before, making it simpler, less grindy, and easier for anyone to approach. On the other hand, there are some glaring issues with the current armor mod system. Although the simplicity is great for those who just want to get up and running, it's not so great for anyone who wants to dig deeper into fine-tuning their builds. With the sheer number of options available within the Elemental Well mod system, you could tune every little aspect of your build to match exactly what you want. The best example I have is with Stasis. Mods such as Elemental Shards, which we already touched on before, would enable Stasis Shards to act as Elemental Wells, and thus they would integrate seamlessly into the old mod system. To translate that into today's system, this mod would essentially turn every Stasis Shard into an Orb of Power. And since Orbs of Power are intertwined with almost every mod in the current system, Stasis Shards would not only provide the benefits from your subclass fragments, but also from any armor mod using Orbs of Power. Since this option isn't available in the current system, there is no way to bend something like Stasis Shards to better fit into a build. You're just stuck with whatever interactions are baked into your subclass, with no room to change them. In addition, the total number of mods is lower than before, meaning even without elemental armor, there are even less options to choose from. What this has led to is an ecosystem where there are really only a couple of options for your armor mods. If you're running a DPS build, you have orb and or super generation mods on your head armor, orb generation mods on your arms, resist mods on your chest, surges on your legs, and time dilation on your class item. Grenade builds have orb gen on your head, kickstart mods on your arms, resist mods on your chest, ability regen on your legs, and reaper on your class item. Pretty much every build is solved based on the situation, and there is not a ton of wiggle room to make changes to your mod setup. The vast majority of your build choices come from your subclass, weapons, and seasonal artifact mods. Sure, the armor mod system has become easier to work with, but it came at the expense of being able to truly make a build your own. This actually leads us into the next topic worth discussing, the seasonal artifact. Now, I don't have an issue with it necessarily. Bringing unique mods to each season can really help shake up the meta and help to bring lesser used subclasses or weapons back into common use. But the problem lies in the over-reliance on the seasonal artifact to determine what builds to use each season. With the old armor mod system, you had a large number of options to support whatever build or playstyle you wanted to play. Stasis with elemental shards was always viable. Really, any build was always viable since the mods that made them work were always available, even when the season they were introduced in was over. In the current system, mods do not stick around, so if Void is good in one season due to the artifact, then it's not necessarily going to be good in the next season. Again, to bring up Stasis was fantastic in episode Revenant due to the sheer amount of artifact support it received, but it's now back to being a niche pick since there's pretty much no support in the Heresy artifact. Here's what I'm trying to get at. Since the mods that make builds tick are limited to a set lifetime, then those builds will also be limited to that same lifetime. If you find a build you love in one season, there's a high chance that build won't work so well in the next one. It has become so much harder to create builds that stand the test of time, since there is no way to guarantee that a build will be evergreen. Each subclass will end up having only a handful of viable evergreen builds, based entirely on what's already baked into the subclass kit. The current armor mod system did a lot to make the system easier to approach for everyone. It removed the unnecessary grind that the old system required, streamlined mod acquisition, and just really simplified everything. Making builds has never been easier, trying out new playstyles is fast and fluid, and swapping mods for different scenarios is much faster. But in that simplicity, we lost a lot of the richness of the Destiny 2 armor mod system. We can no longer fine-tune our builds and bend the rigid bars given to us by our subclasses. We are at the mercy of seasonal artifact mods to choose our builds for us, and we have no guarantee that our favorite build will be good, let alone exist from season to season. And I think that the ideas and the goal of the current armor mod system are solid. The build crafting in Destiny shouldn't be scary, difficult, or overwhelming to get into. After all, it's one of the core pillars of the game. But it should also provide enough depth to allow players to really sink their teeth into. At its base, the current armor mod system is a great starting point. As we move into the future of the game, with a vast number of changes coming to loot systems, such as the tiered weapons, I hope that Bungie also takes some time to build upon the current armor mod system. I want them to continue to push it to bring some more life into a system that has been pretty stagnant over the past couple of years. But maybe that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Is the current armor mod system in need of adjustments? Is it perfect just the way it is? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below or over in our Discord server linked in the video description. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I've got more videos like this coming out very soon, as well as some other content you won't want to miss. And finally, if there's another Destiny 2 topic you'd like me to cover, feel free to let me know. But I think that's all I've got for now. As always, I've been Rizeki, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.